the goalie situation, because to me, it begins and ends with these goalies.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that he made a very smart move once upon a time. I loved when he acquired Robin Lehner for 3 seconds and then flipped him in a 3-way trade to Chicago. Yeah. Why did we not keep Robin Lehner? Seriously.
Because Robin Lehner's another one. He's got health issues.
I don't care. As a backup at the time, we would not have been much better off with Lehner sitting on our bench. Seriously. Do you see what he did in Vegas? He did so much in Vegas that they were ready to get rid of Fleury, which they did.
They were ready to get rid of Fleury also because of money. Like, let's be real here.
But did he not just win the Vezina that year?
Listen, I'm a massive Fleury fan. If you don't think the reason that I downloaded Twitter was to find out if Marc-Andre Fleury was going to be picked up by the Leafs, then you're sadly mistaken.
Why is Marc-Andre Fleury not on the Leafs today, Zach?
Because, and it's an old story with him, he doesn't like moving. He doesn't want to move his family. He's won his cups. He wants to continue winning, but he doesn't want to do it at a cost where he needs to constantly be moving one city after another. He said that publicly many times.
He could say whatever he wants publicly. His name is Marc-Andre Fleury. He goes to Minnesota. I don't know how much French speaking they do there, but you come here to Toronto. You have nice packaging, both English and French for you, Mark. You can frill included. You know you're going to be treated like a king here. Come on. And I thought he was going to be our backup this year. I was thinking he was
going to be our starter this year.
Well, it was not, and did not happen. The Robin Lehner train has gone and went. Now we don't want to touch him with a 10-foot pole where he's exactly at. And Vegas has their own issues, but kudos to them for what they've done. I just think that I was thinking Robin Lehner at the time. This was, I think, 2 years ago. So what they've done now is they had some reasoning. They said, Mrazek, I don't know what Dubas had on the Chicago GM there, but he obviously had nude pictures of him. And he said, I'm prepared to threaten you with these pictures unless you agree to take the whole salary and take the player, and we'll exchange 3 draft pick positions to make it seem like we made a real trade. And they agreed. And not because Mrazek's a bad guy. It's like they bought as low as they can get, and the Leafs got out of it unscathed, didn't have to give up a first-round pick, just moved a few positions. Kudos to him. I think it was a great move. It was a fresh start for Mrazek. I think he's going to have a great time in Chicago. And now Campbell, we knew was going to leave. I don't even know if he wanted to come here or not. And if I'm Jack Campbell and I have the opportunity to go play with those studs in Edmonton, who, by the way, just re-signed Evander Kane, I am all over the Edmonton Oilers in a second if I'm him. I think he's going to have a great time. And they have enough Maple Leafs, so we might as well call them the Edmonton Maple Leafs.
Maple Leafs, exactly.
But Campbell, I don't think was coming back regardless. So now you're Dubas. You're saying, I got to start over. Let's go to our OHL playbook. Who was our goalie back then? Let's do the reverse. Matt Murray. I don't hate this move as much as you may think I'm going to say I do.
Neither do I. I don't. You know what? Jack Campbell was never coming back because the Leafs offered him an extension last year. Near the beginning of the year, they offered him, they lowballed him naturally. They offered him an extension. He said no. And then he just priced himself out of the market, not with money, but with term. So that's fine. We all need to remember too, that Jack Campbell was hurt half the year. Okay. For as well as he played, he was also hurt half the year.
And he didn't play so well when he came back.
No, exactly. He had his spouts. So it's not like, we're trading freaking Vasilevsky or Carey Price or Connor Hellebuck away here. Okay. Campbell was good. He did his job when we needed him to, but it's not like he's the moon and the stars here. Okay. So that's one thing. 2, how many bona fide starters are there actually in the NHL right now? It's not that many. Okay. You have, like I said, exactly the Price, Hellebuck, Vasilevsky.
I'm not counting Price. Sorry. No.
Price is healthy. He is in my books.
I don't know where he's at. I
don't think he knows where he's at.
Would you take him right now?
For me, it'd be hard not to. He's Carey freaking Price. But I understand what you're saying. You have Shesterkin, and then as far as I'm concerned, I cannot think of another NHL goalie where you can put them 100% at the beginning of the season.
No, there isn't. It's more that the game today is in tandems, and you need a 1A, 1B, and they're both fairly similar and they're interchangeable. And that's a smarter move than having a top starter and a so-so guy, because if your top starter is gone, you're done. But I was at a game, Zach, this year where a guy by the name of Eric Hallgren came on, and his first NHL start got a shutout. So why don't we just run with him?
See, the thing about Eric Hallgren is interesting, okay? Because he wasn't that bad. And
I like him.
A guy who nobody knew the guy's freaking name, even 5 games in, he did a good job. So I wouldn't say that I'm surprised to not see them use him, because A, Marley still need to sell tickets too, and B, like, let's be real, Murray and Samsonov are still gambles, right? Like, I think, and we can discuss this too. Mm-hmm. I think Murray is set up in the best situation possible right now to succeed. He's got all the familiarity there from his freaking goalie coach when he was 8 years old, all the way up to the teams that he had success on, the people that coached him, that he played for, all of these things. I think you have the best support staff in the NHL, because I don't think there's another team out there that maybe has more money, but dumps as much money into their team as the Leafs do. So I think if he ever is going to bounce back and succeed, it'll be with the Leafs. And he was once upon a time an all-star goalie.
It wasn't that long ago, Zach. On each of these guys that we're going to talk about today, I actually put some information. I did my research. So Matt Murray's only 28. Yeah, that's already a good start. He's not 38. He actually played excellent to fairly well in Pittsburgh from 2015 to 2019. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Goes to Ottawa for 2 seasons. I don't know if you've ever been to Ottawa, and I don't mind Ottawa, but you know what? Like, just the way that team is in chaos all the time, it's not a good vibe. It's just hard. It's hard, I think, on a player, and it wears on you as a goalie with the way things are going over there. So I can't necessarily blame. Plus, he was injured, but where he actually headed.
The guy had a concussion. His father died, which, could you imagine playing through that?
I was not aware of that one. Thank you.
His father died, I think, late 2018. So, and we're talking about, the father-son dynamic of being, hockey dad, right? His father died. So I couldn't understand it. Thank God I couldn't understand it. I never once for a second will fault him for the way he played going through that. So those two things enough. When you're concussed and you can barely see straight is one thing, and then when your heart is hurting nonstop, playing the game you love that you bonded with your father over for 25 years, that's, hats off to him for even coming back to play. Second thing is, like, let's be real, is Ottawa, they're not even a tier 2 team. Like, they're a tier 3 team in the NHL when he was playing for them.
They're like a AA team in baseball. Like, it's hard.
Yeah, exactly.
But that being said, Zach, it's funny. You look at the numbers. Okay, he had a 3.05 goals against, which, guess what? In today's NHL, you're out of the game. But, 20 years ago, you'd be an all-star for that. But he still had a 906 save percentage, considering all. I think that's not too bad. Plus, he's got 2 rings. He's done it. He has done it.
If you look, because like you, I don't do the research for the podcast. I do it because I'm a massive hockey nerd. But if you look, last year, I think he only played about 20 games. There was a span. If you take out the 2 outliers, the one game they played Tampa where they got the kicked out of them, that was the game he was concussed, which he left in the end. Which, I don't know why DJ Smith lets their goalie absolutely get pounded like that. That's one thing. That's just punishment at that point. But if you take away that outlier game, and there's one more, I can't remember, the guy had, I think, a 915 and a 2.3 GAA, which, as far as I'm concerned, that's among some of the best goalies in the NHL. I know we're talking about 20 games here, which is fine. I'm not saying the guy needs to play 60 games this year, because he's not a bona fide starter, and that's why they took Samsonov. But if he could do that, 35, 40 games.
Look at the players he had on Pittsburgh. Look at the players he had on Leafs. And look what he had on Ottawa. What do you want from the man? He's not Jesus. So...
No, exactly.
But I do like the signing, actually. I think it's what they need. But when they signed him, I'm like, this better not be it. There better be another one. And you know what? I love the Samsonov signing for a lot of reasons. He was a first-round draft pick. He was 22nd overall. He's only 25 years old. He's a Russian goalie. Don't know what it is about Russian goalies, but I like it and feel good about it. Dan Milstein is not his agent, unfortunately. He should be, because Dan is awesome. Look what Dan did for Evander Kane. Samsonov, I don't know if you're happy with your agent or not, but I'll tell you, Dan Milstein's freaking awesome. He's a friend to the show. Shout out to Dan Milstein. But look at Samsonov numbers. Like, for the 3 years he played in Washington, 2.55 goals against, 913 save percentage. I'll take that in a second. Then it goes to 2.69 goals against, 902. Last year, 3.02 goals against, 896 save percentage on a subpar Washington team that I don't know what the heck was going on with them.
They're horrible defensive structure.
But based on how the signing was, and considering his pedigree, he's going to come in with a chip. If you ever say there's a change of scenery, dude, that's him.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to see what he's going to be about. And if I'm Dubas, what I'm thinking is I'm bringing two guys who are very capable. And guess what? If both stay healthy, they'll compete. And maybe one guy will just take the job and run with it. That's great. Yeah. And in the meantime, sitting in the Marlies, I got two guys that are actually pretty capable, not named Michael Hutchison.
Yeah. And the 6'7" Swede that they just signed too.
Yes. Which, Garrett Sparks, we'll see us soon, and all these guys, but
well, you never know. The guy's 20. He's an overager.
Okay, but we got Wall, Joseph Wall, and Eric Holmgren, right? So we got guys. They're there. It's everything. We always beat on Hutchinson, but when he left here, he all of a sudden did okay for himself. But I think it's one of those things as a Leaf fan. Campbell, when he's got injured and everything, and you're watching what Freddie Anderson was doing out in Carolina, that just hurt. You just knew it was one of those things. When I saw the signing, I said he's going to have a really good season, and that's just how it goes.
There was no doubt in my mind when Freddie Anderson went to Carolina, he was going to put up career numbers. And there was no doubt in my mind that when playoff time came around, he'd be hurt or injured or in some matter.
Yeah, but also you're going to an environment where people are not shitting on you and dissecting you every second.
It's not a hockey stick.
So you have a lot less pressure on you. You can just go and flow the game. And you know what? I'm happy for Freddie Anderson. I wish him the best. But Jack Campbell, looking at his numbers, which is interesting. He's been in the league since 2013, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. He's basically played 5 games before last year, but in all seriousness, he played very little to none.
Yeah.
They saw something in him, and you know what? He really delivered. 2 years ago when he had that season, 2.15 goals against and 921 save percentage. Campbell was awesome. He was so fun to watch.
Listen, the Leafs is where you go when you're a reclamation project. Look at all the players that have come and gone in the last 2 years that have left and now signed good-sized contracts on other teams. Right. So I don't mind at least taking Murray's reclamation project. And the word on Samsonov is they actually offered him longer term and more money. And he said, no. He said, give me a prove me contract. He goes, I don't care what happened in Washington. I'm going to come in. I'm going to take a team friendly contract. And after this year is done, you're going to sign me as your number one goalie, because that's what I am.
And who did Colorado get to replace their starter after being a Stanley Cup winner?
Yeah, Georgiev, I know.
Alexander, over from the Rangers, who everybody was crying that the Leafs need to get him. Why do we not acquire him? Career 2.94 goes against 908 save percentage. Doesn't sound far off from what we got. And you know what? I'm okay with what we got compared to what they got.
No, and exactly. And at the end of the day, it's like Dubas said, and people are just going to crap on us for this, but the guy has the Stanley Cup pedigree. He can listen. There is a situation out there where Murray plays 3 games for us and then he retires. Okay, there is that situation. There's a situation where he gets traded. There's also the situation which, in my eyes, there's a very strong likelihood this guy's given the time to get healthy because he's got Samsonov. They don't overload him. They give him the environment he needs to succeed. And there is a situation where I think he puts up 915, 920, 2.5 GA, especially because Sheldon Keefe, the way he coaches, is very defensive. He's lucky because he's got players like Matthew who can light the lamp pretty much on demand, but he coaches a very boring style of hockey, which is just defend, trap in the neutral zone, defend. And so the Leafs defense, which, if you think of the components, in my eyes last year, weren't very good to begin with. They were suddenly a great defensive team. So I think that Matt Murray will be fine. I think Samsonov will be the insurance policy, right there, insurance policy that he needs. And let him do it. Go for it. May the best prevail.
I'm gonna go on record right now and saying we are gonna win a playoff round next year with these guys. It's gonna. I think
so too.
I'm positive. I feel good energy.
Yes.
I'm giving them the flex for it. Sorry, one sec.
That's right. Oh boy.
So we got to go, and they are going to get it. Now I'm going to give you 4 names non-goalie that I've been reading a lot of speculation on, and curious your thought. I'll give you the funny name first. He's come out at 50 years old, says I'm still available and I want to play. His name is
Jaromir Jagr.
You got it. This guy follows his hockey. Correct. Jaromir Jagr. You know what? I'm calling him. I'm bringing him to training camp. I don't care. I think Jagr's awesome, and it'd be fun to have around. I'd bring him as like a player coach type scenario. Because
there's some people out there in the analytics world who believe that had Jaromir Jagr, because he played through multiple seasons that they were on strike, union strikes, multiple shortened seasons. There are people out there who believe that if Jaromir Jagr had gotten the same shot as Lemieux and Gretzky, he'd have more points than both of them.
He also chose to go overseas into different places and not play in NHL as much as he could have during also semi-peak years. Jagr would have been one of the best players of all time. I like Jagr. I think he's cool. He's fun. He'd be great in the dressing room. I think we should be talking to Jaromir Jagr immediately. I think that'll also take a lot of pressure off the stinkiness of our team. Yeah. And we should think about that. Why is Brent Burns not a member of the Maple Leafs today?
Okay, so Brent Burns, my
where did he go, by the way?
Yeah, I know, Carolina.
Why? Right. Okay.
My brothers and I and my father, we have a group chat, and we've just been texting each other the last few days. Updates. The second Brent Burns, there was even a sniff that he was available. Every one of us texted at the same time. We need Brent Burns, and boy, oh boy, do we need Brent Burns.
Ontario boy, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Ontario boy. The guy's a freaking monster. He has Stanley Cup pedigree. Okay. He is the closest thing to my dream defenseman, which would be Dustin Byfuglien in the NHL still. And I think that Carolina stole him. I know that they gave him a couple players and a big deal, but they are nothing players. And 33% retained. You're telling me the Leafs couldn't afford a $6 million defenseman? I got 50 ways I could have reorganized this team to afford Brent Burns that would have kept them just as good, if not better, in addition to Brent Burns. So I don't know. Was
Dubas sleeping at the wheel? What's happening here?
The word around town is that Brent Burns is all Americana. He wants to be able to go hunting on the weekend. He's not good in the cold weather. I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
You know what? Maybe Freddie, maybe give a call to Freddie Anderson's. Freddie's like, hey, it's good times here. Carolina, I heard, it's a fun town. So unfortunately, Brent Burns not going to happen. So the next article says, we already fleeced Chicago once. Why don't we go back to the well? They have a couple of guys. You might have heard of them. Last names Kane and Taves. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I've heard of them. So that's my dream, okay? As a hockey fan, every night,
Evander Kane.
Before I go to bed, I get on my knees, I say a little prayer to the hockey gods, and I say, please, oh please, will you bring, probably going to go down, at least in the next few years, till Austin Matthews has something to do with it, the best American-born hockey player ever. Can you please, oh please, bring him in? And the dream to me is still alive, okay? I don't think Dubas is as stupid as people think he is.
You know what? Actually, the funny thing is, no matter who says, I don't think he's stupid at all. I think he's actually very smart. But sometimes you can be too smart and outsmart yourself.
Well, that's it. I think he's playing the long game because there is a play at Patrick Kane. And one thing people should know is one of Patrick Kane's best buddies right now goes by the name of Austin Matthews, going to be potentially the best American-born hockey player of all time. And they hang out all the time. They talk to each other a lot. I know this is fact. And I'm praying that they make a play on that. Kerfoot, Muzzin, Hole, 11 million. Patrick Kane makes 10.5, even with no retention, which Davidson in Chicago would be a fool to not retain anything because he's on his last year of his contract. Even with no retention, I can make this deal happen. Why not? That's a game changer.
If you got to pick Kane or Taves, you're going with Kane?
100%.
Okay, I agree with you. I'm going with Kane as well. I got to tell you, though, when Kane signed, the other Kane signed with Edmonton, a good friend of Vander, the way he played over there, I'm like, man, he'd look really good in the Maple Leafs uniform. But if I were him, I would do the smart move as well. I think he looks good in there. Would you trade Matthews for McDavid straight up if you could?
No.
You'd rather have Matthews?
Yes.
I'd rather have McDavid. Sorry. Okay.
You could have, listen, the difference for me between Matthews and McDavid is the fact that I don't think McDavid makes the people around him. Well, I could say this up until Kane came around, but Kane, let's make no mistake. The guy's been a good hockey player. He has his own distractions that cause him problems.
We're talking about Evander now.
Yes. I don't think Evander Kane. Yeah. I don't think McDavid makes the people around him so much better. I don't think he's a leader. That's just been my impression of him. Do I think he's the most skilled player in the world? Yes, undoubtedly. I will not disagree with anybody on that. I think that if you put him in a skill competition, McDavid walks away 100% of the time. Matthews, though, to me, he's more of a leader. I won't even say he's more of a game breaker because he's not. McDavid can just fly up the ice one day, go through 5 guys and put a backhand top shelf. But I think he makes the people around him better.
How do you think Matthews felt after he got the C on the jersey? Oh, wait, he didn't.
It's coming. So the thing with Matthews is it's going in two ways. Okay. This is the way I see it, right? Okay. Either he'll be playing for someone else in 2 years, or he'll be the captain of the Leafs and Tavares will be playing for someone else. We have you on tape,
by the way, saying that Matthews is going to go home to Arizona because everybody wants to go home.
Listen, I'm still saying it. Arizona right now, they are prized to get Connor Bedard, who is the most touted draft pick since Austin Matthews. And if anybody watched this guy play in the World Juniors, I think he was 16 years old. He's not that big, and he made supposed first overall Shane Wright look dummy this year. Okay, he dummied him in competition, and we're talking about a guy who also played far less minutes than everyone else. So Arizona's prized to get, potentially the next biggest game breaker in the NHL. They're going to get a brand new $1.5 billion arena. They're going to have a team with all of the money in the world that could pay Austin Matthews whatever he wants. I still don't. He may not go to Arizona. But
you know what else Arizona has?
What?
Steve Carsey from The Chosen Journey. Steve, when he retired, is now living in Arizona. And he sends me pictures all the time, laughing at Toronto winters and how the temperatures in Arizona. And I got to tell you, if I was born in Arizona, raised in Arizona, and I saw the climate over there, I know everybody hates the climate talk, but it's pretty sweet deal living year-round in Arizona, I got to say. So if you're from there, we're going to have a hard time competing with that, plus taxes and other miscellaneous fun things that goes along with being Canadian, but we won't go there either. But
taxes when you sign a $100 million contract, I don't think it's the end of the world for him.